All right, so welcome to Emerge episode 2. I think this is episode 2.
This is episode 2, I'm pretty sure.
So today we have Jamie Sundsbak. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so I guess we'll try and follow the format we did last time and see if that kind of sticks. So we can start off by talking about kind of what went on in the entrepreneurial community this week.
Sure, and I think we have to at least preface this with the fact that this is actually not being shot live this time and live streamed, just due to a lot of weird commitments and things going on. So we're kind of halfway through the week here on Wednesday, so we're trying to guess how awesome the rest of the week was. So hopefully we could fill that in. So what happened earlier this week? So I think the big thing for me that happened last night was sort of doing this Welcome to the Neighborhood event with Mortensen, who is building the first really new building in Discovery Square. So it was a chance to get to know those people and to sort of identify the faces that we'll see over the next few years as that building starts to rise here in Rochester.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of have that transparency too and have people see who's kind of behind these large projects in town. Otherwise it's just a name. And when it becomes a face, it becomes a little bit more personalized, and then even having an opportunity to have an interaction with them, whether people take advantage of that or say something or not, is important, I think, in this community in particular. So
I think it's a real advantage that Mortensen comes in and just doesn't start bulldozing a bunch of land. And they really want to get to know the community, whether that's the entrepreneurial community or just the surrounding communities. The residents who live there, and potentially the residents as more commercial stuff and commercial and residential buildings start to happen downtown, that they're very interested in bringing them into the conversation as well. So they really want this to be a community, as a community of Rochester focused building, which I think is an amazing thing and a very hard thing in some ways for them to do.
Yeah, I think it's very hard when the public is involved and it's a community building, so people can come into it that don't necessarily work there, and what are the issues associated with that. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think
it's exciting.
Again, I love the idea of community engagement. I mean, that's what we're about here at Collider Co-working, and that's really what I firmly believe they're trying to do, which is great. So I think it was a great way to kick something off, to get to kind of know these faces and names, and to see some, I always say the pretty drawings, right, of what this space may look like. So I think it's a great start. We just have to continue to work together to really try to figure out, and I say this over and over from time to time, but you've got all these pretty buildings and drawings. Who are going to fill these buildings? And we've heard now, I guess the other big announcement was the University of Minnesota Rochester will take space in that building. We're not quite clear yet on what that space will be. We know it will be some laboratory space, but beyond that, I haven't heard much about what's going on. So hopefully that will unfold, but we really need to sort of develop almost when you're doing a lot of business development, you talk about developing personas and people, who is your ideal tenant? And I think we need to start thinking about who's the ideal tenant for these spaces. And obviously, I'm not in charge of filling that space, but hopefully being a good neighbor, we can try to identify some companies that would be great fits as well. So that's what we're hoping to do.
They literally will be our neighbor here.
They will, and it's, as I said last night in my opening comment, it's really nice to have neighbors because, we've kind of been the lone person here in the Conley Mass building. I think we've spent, well, we can talk about that here in a moment about the past year, but I think we kind of have been sort of the Lone Ranger out there right now, and it's nice to have. Not necessarily to shift the focus, but say, okay, phase 1 was this building, it's been successful, now let's see what phase 2 can do and how we can take the lessons we've learned and help support them.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of cool to see it. I've never seen a community discussion like that, so it was interesting. Glad to be a part of it. Yeah, so today we have the Rochester Rising birthday party and entrepreneurial community celebration. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
Oh yeah, and of course we're watching this on Friday, so I bet you are all like, oh my god, that was the party of the century. It was fantastic. We will never see anything like this ever again in Rochester.
Yeah, I know we're at capacity for the room, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
Because any other event I've had, it's like you're not even halfway there. So this is actually like really exciting that I think it fits 40 people sitting. So we're at 40 people. So that's really exciting. And I think that says a lot about the community. And we had a lot of participation in lowering the cost and accessibility of it from, I believe it was 12 businesses around town. So that was fantastic, and hopefully, I'm sure it's going to be fun.
I think it was great. She's not paying me to say that.
Then what else do we have?
I want to turn the tables on you for a second and talk about, I mean, it's been a year, obviously, that's why we're celebrating Rochester Rising. So, you know, maybe in a way to sort of prepare for what you're going to say tonight, which I'm sure, again, was great and awesome. You know, what's your take on the last year of Rochester Rising, and what have you learned, and what do you hope to do going forward? There's at least half hour of content right now.
What have I learned? I've learned that there was definitely a strong need for something like this, and I learned that it's very slow to grow something like this in the beginning stages, because I think for maybe even the first 3 months, maybe even 4 months, because then we went into December, Christmas, the holidays, it's pretty slow. So it was very slow, kind of stagnant for a while, and you think like, oh my god, what am I doing? Did I just make an enormous mistake? And then, you know, come February, it just like kept going on a constantly increasing trajectory, and more people know about it. I mean, the most fantastic thing for me is when I go to talk to somebody and they've already heard about it. Because in the first 4 months, it was just like you had to spend 20 minutes explaining yourself, you know. But I would say there have been very few emails or connections that I've tried to make that haven't been accepted, or interviews that haven't been accepted, even if people don't know me. So that's kind of an incredible thing about this community, because I don't think that happens. So what else have I learned? I think I've learned it takes quite a lot of perseverance, because there are definitely days that are absolutely horrible. And then there are days that are really, really great. So, and I think that's the same with anybody's business. It's just completely up and down, and you have to put it all in perspective. I've learned that, and again, anybody doing a new business probably has this thought that you think you set goals, which are fantastic, but sometimes mine are way too lofty. And when I don't get there, I feel like an enormous failure. But I think what to do instead is to look what you've actually accomplished. Like advertisement and sponsorship, for example. I would like to have been a lot further along than I was, but I've had 9 this past year. And I think that's pretty good for a new business in Rochester that, you know, like I said, it takes 4 months even to get going and to get traction. So I think that covers that. So where do I want it to go? You know, I think just continue to grow, continue to access people in the community that potential readers that I haven't been able to on the podcast has probably been the fastest growing segment. So continuing to access people even in Minneapolis, beyond, I know our biggest following is here, then Minneapolis, and then little contingents like Chicago, Boston, San Francisco. It's really weird. I mean, these are the entrepreneurial hubs, so it makes sense.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have begun to do what I do a lot of, which is consume sort of my news and information via audio, because they're always on the go with long transit times and things like that. And I would guess, although I'm guessing, that some of those people are Midwestern or Minnesota transplants that are starting to fish around. You know, they've kind of had their time in the Valley or in Boston. Maybe they have kids now. Maybe they're really looking to test the water around here and figure out, you know, is it possible for me to move back? And to have, you know, that quality of education and experience for my kids that they had growing up here. and hopefully providing an awesome opportunity for them to leverage their talents and bring something back. And just guessing, but I've talked to people that have that interest, so I'm wondering if that's some of the growing user base of or listener base of the podcast would be around those sort of ideas.
Yeah, that's what I think, and I've had some people too come out of, not the woodwork, but approach me who have moved here recently and just found it, which is another fantastic thing, that people are actually finding it. It's creeping up into the Google, Google interwebs. So I think that's good, and yeah, I think just continuing to maybe produce some more educational focused things moving forward. But yeah, just continue on and produce things that people aren't used to reading or hearing.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. And I know too, you say this, it's really important for people in the community to give before we get, and it's really hard sometimes, especially when you're building a business, but I think just to continue to realize that this community is young, and we still have to continue to give our time to people here and initiatives and things without expecting to receive anything back.
Yeah. I've seen that as a real shift over the last few years, is that starting to happen. It traditionally didn't happen in the past as much as it probably should have. And I think through sort of providing positive examples like what you've done, hopefully what Collider's trying to do, that we're providing that give first philosophy or we're showing that give first philosophy can work in our community, and hopefully we can indoctrinate more people into believing our crazy cultish notions.
It is kind of cultish.
It is, really.
But yeah, I guess on that note too, Collider's just about probably in August.
Yep.
It's been a year.
We opened August 15th. So right about now was when we really started moving in. I mean, it took about a month to get everything assembled and together and to really put the finishing touches on the business plan. And we didn't really have a business plan. It was more of a loose business model canvas. But just trying to get all that stuff together, get people obviously through the door. And I remember this space when, it was just me sitting on the floor because I didn't have a desk yet. And it's really, really funny to think that was only 11 months ago.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been 5 years since I left my job at Mayo and took a risk with the very generous support and assistance of Hunter and Tracy Downs, my real partners in Collider, and just started something in this community. And that's what we talk about over and over and over is just start something. And I wanted to provide that example of someone who just started something.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, we were talking this week about how, because it's been really hot in here, about
that
how,
is not a drawback of working at Collider. It's a benefit.
It's been the same anywhere. It's hot in my house. Yeah, it's hot in my house too. But living out a year in the life of the building because it's it's a historic building.
It is. Yeah.
Working out the kinks of the building over a year, and we're just getting there now, which is exciting. And a lot, besides us, Blue Duck is getting on their 1 year anniversary too. So everyone's kind of moving forward together.
Yeah, we all kind of, obviously moved in at the same time, and hopefully I still have to think about what my birthday party for Collider looks like, and I'm trying to steal everything that worked well from yours, because that's what entrepreneurs do, right? Great artists steal.
You work off, you mold existing examples. Should have a block party, that would be pretty fun.
So if anybody wants to support or sponsor a block party, I'm all for it. Talk to me. What's the best contact information? hello@collider.mn would be the way to go.
Or leave in the comments. We have kind of a mud hole beside us right now. We probably don't want to. What else was I going to say? So, year of co-working, what have you learned that worked, didn't work along this year?
Many things, either way. I would say maybe the biggest thing I've learned is, and I continue to struggle with, is really being a solo entrepreneur really sucks. I totally understand now when people say it's all about the team, it's all about taking complementary skill sets and putting those people together and really making something happen. I get that now because it's hard to wear every hat in an organization, from the person who occasionally smiles at you as you walk in the door and says good morning, who makes your coffee, all the way to the strategy for the next steps for Collider, trying to get people on board, trying to create more events, to spur a love of entrepreneurship in our city. It's a lot, and it's taken a toll on me, for sure. I mean, my hair's gotten grayer, which I now chop off because it's harder to see. But it's been just, even health-wise, my health is just like crazy, and that's, you read a lot about sort of the entrepreneurial story. They talk about, take care of yourself. That's another thing I've learned, is I don't do a very good job taking care of myself. And I really, a goal for next year, the next year of Collider, is to really do that. But I think that also opens up an opportunity for the people who are creating companies here, is you really have to think about your company, obviously, but you really have to address mind, body, spirit. You have to do that. And I'm trying to weave those opportunities into like our community memberships and things like that, to say, here's a discount on a personal trainer, or here's a discount on meditation or yoga, something that kind of keeps you healthy, because if you're not healthy, your business isn't going to be healthy. And that's really been the big aha moment for me this year. So stay tuned for the future of that. I think I've learned that I think I was spot on with the pricing for the desk plans that we have here at Collider. I think there's been really no resistance to this is too expensive or anything like that. But I don't think we've added enough value to what that membership entails, and partially that's just come because I've been so busy with everything that I've kind of taken my eye off the ball, which sucks, but it's true, because I'm overly transparent, as you can no doubt guess. So we just have to kind of build a more compelling package. One of the biggest changes that we did last month, which still is not reflected on our website, is all of our plans went to 24/7 access to the building. We felt that we were seeing more and more people who were not working the traditional 9 to 5, or at least the hours that we were open, which is like 8 to 6.
Which is typical for an entrepreneur.
That just doesn't happen. A lot of these people are smartly, and I'll say this, smartly thinking of their entrepreneurial endeavor as a side business. So they have a legit employer who's paying the bills. They're not just jumping off into the crazy world like so many of us seem to do. They're being very practical about it, which is a great way to go about it.
Yeah, that's the smart.
That's the smart way.
Thing.
Now, I could argue that I spent the last 5 years doing and testing and trying to figure out models in my head while I had a job. But eventually, if you really want to get into something, you got to make that jump. So, opening up that access to 24/7 gives people time on the weekends or nights. And what it does is it tends to activate the space more. So instead of just saying, oh, there's a flurry of activity during 10 hours and then everything shuts down, we want Collider, and really I think in many ways the goal of this building is to really be active all the time.
Right.
Because a building that's just dead after hours is a waste of space. And so we have a number of initiatives we're working on to build more of an educational presence around entrepreneurship and business development here, which will be announced very, very soon. And that will allow people to be able to come at night and maybe take a very, very easy class to learn a valuable piece of a skill or a broader skill, and integrate that into their plans or their ideas for a business or even just professional development. So we think that education piece, bolting that onto Collider, will be a tremendous benefit, hopefully to us and our bottom line, but also to the community in general, because I think there's a real need for it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think, it's been a year-long trajectory for you too, just growing and learning and
Yep.
filling the space. I mean, it's pretty full too.
It is. I mean, everybody asks, how full is it? And I'm like, well, it depends on the day. So if you look at our membership list, we have about 52 people who, in some way, shape, or form, pay for space at Collider or the community memberships. Every day, it just depends, because these people are out hustling. Except I would argue some of the coders in our space, their job is to sit in front of a computer screen and put a tremendous amount of time into building a product. I get that. Other people are not traditional coders. They're not techies. They're marketing people who are out trying to build relationships with potential customers. There are videographers who, would probably love to shoot just in Collider all day long, but that's not practical. We haven't had any weddings in here yet, so if anybody's looking for a wedding, we could totally PR the heck out of that.
We probably could run the whole thing with people from here.
That's true. So I think, moving forward, it's all about activating the space. But it's more than just activating the space. We want to derive real benefit to the community of Rochester in being able to take part in, more than just co-working, whether it's education or just being involved in the community or just having a sense of being in the community. I think the next biggest thing I found over the last year has been we can solidify, galvanize, build our community the way I think I've approached it in the last 3 or 4 years, which is events. So we've started our Friday happy hour, which has been great, very well attended, lots of drinking going on, but it's really a social time. And you think all these people that are trying to do all this stuff, they're busting their butts, they're trying to get, make things happen. My idea with that was, at least for me, on a Friday night, I want to spend that time with my family. I want to not think about business, although it always creeps in. But let's set the weekend right. Let's get it off the ground. Let's let people relax a bit. And that's really what the happy hour has been able to do. I think it just gets people together, kind of de-stress a little, and it gives them a positive kind of push into the weekend. And they may wake up the next day and be like, oh my God, I got to start again. But it's a stopping point where we can all say we survived another weekend. I think the show and tell that we've started to do every week, where we bring one person in. It may be a person that you sit right next to at Collider, but maybe you just don't know how they got there. So they're able to just very informally, it doesn't have to be a grand presentation, tell their story. And it's amazing how many connections are built just learning, oh, you used to do this? Well, I'm interested in that. And that's been a really positive connection. And so doing more things like that, I think, are going to be crucial in the next year.
Yep, again, opening up the conversation and getting to know people in the community. This transparency, or not even that, but like humanity, like being a real person. Humans. Don't put up your shield. So we're going to talk about this more tonight, but the community as a whole has made a lot of strides over the past year. We're not like a Boston, we're not a Chicago or Kansas City, but that's fine. Rochester is what it is. So what have you seen over the past year that you think has been really a momentous occasion or occurrence for the entrepreneurial community here? I can start out with some things too.
Yeah, you start. I'll just add that was great.
Yeah, I think so. I was talking with Xavier to prepare for this event tonight, and
Xavier, you got to be on this.
Yes.
I know you're watching.
The Southeast Minnesota Angel Fund officially went live, I guess. It's
great.
Very established by July 15th, so that must have been Friday? Last Friday.
Oh,
I think that was Friday. So, and then they're going to make an announcement next month. Excuse me. I think we have had a startup acquired. Chris Lukenbill's startup, Able.ag, was acquired probably less than a month ago, and he was on here talking about that. And, that was a little bit bittersweet for the team. because there were no longer jobs for them, but it was, I mean, your company got acquired.
Yeah.
That's an occasion.
Yeah.
1 million cups.
Getting 1 million cups here was kind of, I would say, besides getting Collider off the ground, that was my next initiative that I just didn't have the time to really put in to really get it off the ground for the last couple of years. And you know, we've had people in the community doing a really good job at doing other events that were very similar to 1 million cups, which I thank them for. I think that was fantastic. They kept the torch kind of lit and were running with it, but I think what we really needed was that official 1 million cups. And I think we've had a tremendously good turnaround, turnout for each event.
Yeah.
I think we average about 40, I calculated it out, about 42 people per event. Our biggest being over 70, our smallest was probably 20 or 30.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're doing really, really well. I think, going forward, making sure that we get lots and lots of applicants from people not from Rochester. Just, if anybody wants to see how the cake is baked here. And it's actually a real hard struggle to get Rochester-based companies to apply. So if any of you are a Rochester-based company, we would love you to apply to 1 Million Cups Rochester. I think it's just 1millioncups.org.
I think if you just Google 1 million cups Rochester, it'll come up.
Probably easier. I should know my own URLs, but I get involved in too many things. But we would love, we bump all Rochester companies up to the front to evaluate them. So we love to have Rochester companies apply. And it's a really great opportunity to just kind of solidify your pitch or your idea and, be vulnerable, throw it out there, mm-hmm. and let this community of great people give you some feedback. It's not going to be, negative feedback. That's something that we actively discourage. It's positive feedback. It's the more the yes and versus the but sort
Right.
of, talk that we learn in things like design thinking. We want all that to continue. So, and we want to be encouraging and we want to help each other as a community.
Right. Do you want to talk about the criteria for businesses to apply? Because I know we were asked that this week, that sometimes it's unclear
mm-hmm.
what sort of startup or company would be in line with the 1 million cups culture, I guess.
Traditionally, as everything does, it kind of comes out of this tech-focused world. I think as 1 million cups has spread over the United States, that's broadened quite a bit, which is great because entrepreneurship is just not tech entrepreneurship.
Right.
So I think you have to be an early stage company. So basically what it boils down to is there are guidelines, but each community organizing team is allowed to broaden those guidelines or narrow them as they see fit that fits with their community. So really the criteria that we're looking for now is probably an earlier stage company. I would say that's been around from anywhere from, this is my idea, which we look really hard at because it's hard to just pitch an idea without any sort of execution.
Yeah.
And that's really not what 1 Million Cups is about. So we tend to really look hard at those. But if you're a company kind of in that early stage, you're just trying to figure out your MVP or your product, that's the sweet spot that I like, mm-hmm. because I think that's when the feedback from the community can be sort of most effective to mm-hmm. you, the presenter. And then, we don't want mega corporations. We don't want, I think there's a guideline of under, 500,000 in revenue or something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
If we know all these companies that are making even slightly under 500,000 in the Rochester area, I want to know who you are because awesome. And I want to promote you and talk about how great you are and get you mentoring the next generation
right.
of startups.
But they're probably not going to get anything out of 1 million
right.
cups.
They're not going to get anything out.
It's not a sales pitch. It's not a marketing.
So I would
play.
say if you're in a classic, more of a startup mode, that's really the sweet spot that
right.
we're angling for. That being said, something I've been dealing with recently is this idea of there's two types of entrepreneurship. There's innovation-driven entrepreneurship. That's that global, earth-shattering, new innovation that's going to disrupt everything sort of thinking. And that's what we all focus on in terms of, traditional startup entrepreneurship. But then there's the more classical entrepreneur, the lifestyle business.
Sure.
Someone who just wants to start something that may never grow beyond the boundaries of Rochester or even a couple of city blocks,
Right.
think in terms of food trucks. But it's a business and it's sustainable. Those are also people that we want to tap into. We don't want to just be about high growth startups. We want to be about really the future of business in Rochester. And so if you're starting something more local and you figure, oh, this isn't for me, I would at least apply, because I think there's room. We've had, so the last one we had Ryan from Pure Rock Studios.
Yep.
That's a great example of a business that's really taking off.
Yeah.
It's a homegrown sort of business.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, note by note, built that business. We've had Derek Chapman with Twisted Barrel Wood Fire Pizza. I mean, those are people that, well, I never say never, right? But are not going to, suddenly franchise millions of pizza trucks across the world because of some innovative new pizza oven that he's designed. Well, Derek, I know you can do it, so
So you might.
we'll talk about that. But that's what But that fuels the economy of Rochester. That's as much entrepreneurial to me as any sort of innovative, disruptive startup. And we're too small of a city to sort of silo all of those people off. So we want all those people to come together, and A Million Cups is a great way to do that.
Mm-hmm. Anything else in the community this year?
This year, so I think our first startup weekend was fantastic. It was a youth-based startup weekend. It was a great opportunity for some of the younger people, high schoolers in our community, to learn entrepreneurial principles. This year, but it also helped us as an organizing team kind of learn the process. This year, September 15th through the 17th, we will be doing a full startup weekend in the community of Rochester. And it will be for everyone. So we are working really hard on that right now. We're trying to find sponsors. And I think that continuing to do these big events like Global Entrepreneurship Week, like Startup Weekend, they're always a big part of our community over each and every year, and we hope that they continue. Because I think there's two ways to kind of reach people and bring them into an entrepreneurial community. One is that one-on-one small event kind of group, but the bigger events also start to draw a lot of people in. And that's the advice I've had from several entrepreneurial communities around the country, is bring the big events and you'll start to see some interesting people surfacing. So I think, those are the two ways we go after building our entrepreneurial community here in Rochester.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think maybe we should wrap it up.
I'm always long-winded.
But yeah, thanks for being here today. I appreciate it. And yeah, next week we'll be back with episode 3.
Episode 3.
And if anybody ever wants to be on
which is actually 4 episodes.
Right, we started with 0, which was kind of weird, but
Gotta start somewhere.
yeah, but yeah, and if anyone ever wants to be on here, just let us know, leave a comment or something in the Facebook feed, and yeah, always looking for people to come on the show and talk about the entrepreneurial community here.
And trust me, you don't want to see me every week. So if you want to be a part of it, awesome. I'm usually the person on the other side of the camera, just FYI.
So somebody's head could be cut off because we really don't know what this looks like.
This could be just the top of our heads. We're hoping that we have a stable enough system where this isn't going to go crazy. But like Amanda said, we need more people to do things like this. We need to let people know we exist and that we're building something really great here in Rochester. So hopefully, you want to take part in that as well.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.